in at some point of time, hopefully later this evening. So I have with me Ms. Abhinita Singh, who's the business development head at a legal tech company called Spot Draft. I also have with me Mr. Tanay Manaktala, who's recently gotten admitted and will be traveling to Dublin to attend the MSc in Entrepreneurship program at Trinity College, right? We will also have Medni Mote at some point of time, and she will be joining us soon. But what I'd like to do is start with Abhinita. Now, Abhinita, I'd like you to tell me a little bit about your, 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 your present job right now. What is it that you do?
Okay, so right now, as said, I'm working at Spot Draft, which is a legal tech company. So, all like the mundane stuff of creating a contract, signing the contract, redlining, and all of that stuff, which you had to do manually, is done online. So, all of that, which used to take like an hour to do, now you can finish it like 10-15 minutes.
Right?
So, that's the basic description of what my company does. And I am working as a business development manager. So what basically, so there are these terms, okay, like tofu, it's like top of the funnel. So
Mm-hmm.
basically all the leads that go out, right, the people that we're reaching out to, so I handle all of that. I handle all the interns and the people that come after me, and basically just checking all the stuff that's going out, all the follow-ups that are done, and just following up with the people. So yeah.
Right. So effectively, it's a lot to do with marketing. It's a lot to do with advertising. It's a lot to do with growing your business. Wonderful.
Yeah.
As we conclude that little bit, thank you, Medley, for joining us. Don't worry, it's all right to be late sometimes, not always, of course. But
I'm so
I'm
sorry
glad.
about that.
Don't worry about it. But I'm so glad you were able to make it today. All right. Over to Tanay. Tanay, you are one of three panelists and the only one over here who's actually doing higher education. Now, you could be called the quintessential liberal arts student who's immediately gone after, the liberal arts program into a higher education or a postgraduate program. So you've gotten into the MSc in Entrepreneurship program at Trinity College Dublin, one of the leading colleges, worldwide, right? What made you choose this particular stream, and what do you expect to gain out of it?
Okay, so as you said, I'm moving on to do my MSc post my BA and post doing the JFP at JSLH. The essence of me doing a course like entrepreneurship was because I come from a family business background,
Right.
and the aim of me post my education was eventually to take the reins over. And choosing economics in my undergraduate degree, moving on to study social innovation and entrepreneurship in the JFP, and eventually moving to studying entrepreneurship at TCD this fall, sort of has created an interesting trajectory for me towards establishing my career in the family business and even in the corporate consulting space, which I've been working in for some time now. And what I expect it to be is a culmination of all I've done in the past 17 years, 16 years of my education.
Right. Wonderful. So we'll come back to the choices that you made while you were a student at JSLH. We'll talk about that in some detail later on. I just wanted to know what the idea was behind doing an MSc in entrepreneurship. You have a family business, so great, wonderful. All right, over to you, Medni. Medni, you're working with Quacquarelli Simmons, QS, one of the world's leading education information companies. So how did that come around? Are you actually interested in the education industry? Do you like working with it? And what is it that you actually do?
The education industry is actually very new to me because I've worked with I've interned at OP Jindal with the Office of Career Services, which is the placement cell. So while it isn't along the same lines, the work now I realize is completely different from what I was initially doing. So I just to give you a small background, I actually graduated from Jindal. I pursued the Jindal Fellowship Program, and I did a major in international relations and political science.
Okay.
So for me to pursue a job in the communication sector is kind of moving away from what I initially had planned for myself. But I think that's the advantage of a liberal arts degree. It opens up doors for you which you didn't know even existed. So I got into communications and the education department when I started in services, and I realized that I was very confused whether I wanted to pursue political science. I wanted to join the United Nations, become a diplomat. And then the second I got into the communications field in the education department, I was like, this is my calling. This is what I want to do. And luckily, I was very grateful to have got this job as soon as I graduated.
Right.
So as of now, I'm working as a student enrollment advisor. I'm still undergoing my training, but I indulge with organizations in the UK and the European regions, where I try to help students process their masters and their undergrad applications, help with scholarships, and smoothing the transition process from school to college or college to post graduation, and something along those fields.
Right. Wonderful. So almost like a career counselor, wouldn't you say? Right. All right. So folks, you have three different panelists here, three alumnus or three alumni of the Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities, and all of them are in very, very different fields. One is doing marketing for legal tech. One is planning to go on to do or go on to study entrepreneurship so that he can come back and rejoin the family business. And the third is getting into higher education and the transition from school to college, right? And that sort of variation, that kind of broad spectrum, kinds of careers should be reflective of a liberal arts education. All right. So we now know what it is that they do. I'd now like to go around the table again to find out what choices did they make while in the Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities in order to sort of drive their career goals where they have ended up right now. So for example, I'm quite certain everybody who's listening in, they know this, that obviously most liberal arts colleges will have a set of foundational courses or compulsory courses, but more importantly, it should have a number of elective or optional courses. And if my memory serves me correctly, the spring 2021 semester that recently ended for us in June last month, this month we offered somewhere to the tune of 300 odd electives across the university. Now, of course, out of those 300 electives, to the Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities, about 175 electives were available. So I'm going to go back to you, Abhinita. Did your elective choices, now there's a wide range of electives, not just from the Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities, not just from JSLH, but from across the university, right? We call those cross-listed electives, if you remember what those are, right? So did you take up any particular electives or courses that sort of segued or helped you find your way into your present career? Or in other words, did any of these courses help you develop the skills that you need to have in order to do your job on a daily basis? Abhinita.
Okay, so when I came to Jindal, right, when I was just starting out, like I graduated school and I just joined Jindal. At that time, I wanted to do psychology. Like I was really into it. I thought I'll become a
Right.
psychologist. Like I'll do my I'll do my masters. I'll get a PhD and everything.
Right.
And then like I joined Jindal, and the first year, like so many foundational courses, which was amazing. And then I realized I'm not made for psychology. Like I had that, like I did do it in school as well. So I thought I could do it, but then I had it in college and I was like, no, like this is not gonna happen. And then at that time, I think the electives had just opened up, I think in the
Right.
second year.
Yeah.
So at that time, I had taken up some business courses like design thinking, and I had also taken up brand management.
Right.
So, like, completely off brand for me. Like, I thought I'll like probably do social studies or something like that, and never even thought about business. And I just took it up because I thought it would be fun. And like, I think after that, like, I realized, like, I think I'll just take international business. Sounds really interesting, something I can do. And
Right.
I think that's what like gave me way into, like, right now I'm working in sales,
Right.
so like marketing, sales, all of that. So I think, yeah, JSLH definitely helped. Otherwise right now I would have gone to like DU and done socio or like psychology or something. So
Right.
like, yeah.
No, so that's an amazing story, because you joined because we have a very strong psychology major at the liberal arts school, and a lot of people joined because of that, and that's great. But then somewhere down the line that trajectory changed, and you decided to take up. Did you take up any of the cross-listed electives?
Yeah, so the brand management course was from JGBS,
Right.
and also like I didn't want to leave psychology, so as I was doing international business, I also took a course in criminal psychology from
From the law
JIBS.
school, from JIBS,
Yeah,
right? Right.
JIBS. Yeah.
So
So
that's an amazing thing that you did, because in other circumstances you would have to choose between
exactly.
doing criminal psychology and let's say brand management, and maybe there's a connection which somebody will figure it out at some point of time, but there are connections, of course, between psychology and brand management, how you make your customers feel and all that. But
Yeah,
in
yeah,
other circumstances, you would have to choose. Thankfully, you didn't have to choose, and you could explore both opportunities. And now you're into sales and marketing.
yeah,
All right, over to you, Tanay. Now, I remember you mentioned you had a very strong affinity towards economics and business, which is kind of part of your overall career aspirations of rejoining and perhaps making your family business, taking it to the next level, right? So same question as I posed to Abhinita, Tanay. What were the elective choices that you made, both within JSLH and the cross-listed electives that are offered from perhaps other schools in the university? What are these elective courses that you took up that sort of drove your career choice forward?
So strangely enough, I was never interested in business, and I was never interested in economics either.
Right. Tanay, I think we're losing you. Just wait for a couple of seconds for him to come back. Yeah, we're back.
Yep. Okay, we're back. Okay, so sort of going back 3 years or 4 years, I was never really interested in business or in economics. I came from the IBDP, so
Right.
I had a fairly open perspective about what I wanted to study and what I wanted to do. So what GSLH really did was throughout the foundation courses, it really drove my career focus. It
Right.
really narrowed my path down. And when I graduated with a major in economics last year in um, 2020, I did the JFP program,
Right.
which was, I think, I think, and probably Medin and I often have a conversation about this, about how the JFP really molded and sort of helped us really intensively figure out what we wanted to
Right.
do in life.
So at this moment, Tana, I'd just like to interrupt you for a moment just to explain what the JFP program is. So the Jindal Fellowship Program is a 1 year postgraduate program. Some people call it a 3+1 or the fourth year of your undergraduate program. So this is a program that is available only to students who already have a bachelor's degree, right? And it's a 1 year, very, very intensive research-centric program where you get to explore one idea or one concept that you may have found interesting in in your undergraduate or your bachelor's program, but you didn't have the time to explore it fully, right? And the Jindal Fellowship Program offers you that super specialization. Back to you, Tanay.
Okay, so sort of going back, jumping to the story. Post, like after graduating with a major in economics, which I was always, which the sort of electives I took helped me come
Right.
across. One stagnant idea that actually stood out to me in one of my elective courses I took in my second semester, which was titled East Meets West. A confluence of architecture and design,
Right.
which is a fairly strange idea if you come to
Very,
think
yeah.
about how it led me to pursue
Right.
economics. But within that subject, we within that course, which was then offered by JSLH itself, I studied about just one class. We read about business model
Okay.
in historic houses
Okay.
and how many sort of Indian princes
Hmm.
chose to convert assets, or rather NPAs, as you may call it
Right.
in finance, into revenue generating machines.
Right.
And I think that idea of how an entrepreneur can use something they have, maybe as part of their ancestry, maybe as part of something, and create value.
Right.
That was an idea that stuck with me,
Right.
which is why I took economics, which was again based on a lot of factors. But through the JFP, which is the Jindal Fellowship Program, I was all bit. I mean, while this idea was always.
Yeah, you're back. No worries.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's raining a lot here, so
I
it's
can
just
imagine. Yeah, I figured as
yeah.
much. Bombay does tend to get a lot of rains this time of
Yeah,
year. But go on, go on.
yeah. So while that idea stuck with me, I wanted to go into retail consultancy. I had a job offer and things like that. But that idea, that investigation was something I really wanted to stick to, which is why I then chose to do the JFP.
Right. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, thank you so very much, Tanay. So it's great that there was this one class in this one random elective. You didn't even choose it, and of course, Tanay I think has left the building. I'm sure he'll be back shortly. But it's incredible how one idea can stick with you and sort of and sort of grow into a driving passion. Wonderful to have Tanay back. All right. So Tanay, in a way, that one class planted that seed, much like Inception, in your mind, and now you're off to sort of create or build upon a new empire. Wonderful. All right. Over to Medhani. Medhani, same question. What were the elective choices? So you're into education. You're helping out school students, college students, trying to figure out what kind of a higher education or what kind of future would be best for them, guiding them, advising them, etc. Were you always interested in the field of education, or is it something that has happened recently? I know that you too are part of the JFP, much like Tanay. So how did that happen?
Um, so before I answer this question, I just want to say that when I graduated from school, I was extremely lost about what I wanted to do. And while I do have a job now and I have graduated with 4 years, with a bachelor's and a diploma certificate, I am as lost as I was 3 years back in terms of what, where I see myself in the future. I'm extremely happy. Just to reiterate my point, I'm extremely happy with my job. I'm extremely happy to be working in the communications department. But when I'm asked this question as to how I chose this career path and whether my subjects aligned with my interests, they did not. I don't have a definitive answer. When I joined liberal arts, I was like, I'm going to be a psychology major. Few weeks in, few classes in, literature, especially literature grew on me. And I was like, I'm going to be a literature major. After literature, I started taking electives in the School of International Affairs. So I got into more, I started taking subjects on post-conflict studies and peace and security and the United Nations. And then I was like, maybe I should get into the political science and international relations field. And, by this time, it was time for us to pick our majors. And I was like, okay, right now my interest is with pol science. I'm going to go ahead with it. So I went ahead with pol science. I was ready to do a master's in international relations, and then the Jindal Fellowship program was launched, and I found that very interesting because I wanted to sort of continue my education, and I wanted to build a gap between my undergrad and postgrad because I felt like it's the perfect time for me to also do that. And with the pandemic situation, I think it was a great decision.
Right.
Started that, and when I pick subjects like global economy, which for the record, I cannot do anything which is related to economics or math. You will see me run in the opposite direction. And I can say this very informally because it's as true as it gets.
Sure.
So when I started taking like a variety of subjects, I realized that, okay, it was more of me ruling this out of my interest or my checklist more than me finding myself. So I would do these subjects and I would say, okay, maybe this is not what I want to do. And maybe this is not what I want to do.
So if I may just interrupt here, for you, taking up various electives was more of a exercise in elimination.
Definitely.
Right. Okay.
And while it seems scary and it's something that, you would sort of question back, I think that I'm not advising anybody to go ahead and do it. I would love to have a conversation with any of you if you'd like. But it's something that worked out for me because I was very indecisive and I was like, I want to explore everything that Jindal has to offer. So I was taking subjects from, related to environmental studies. I was taking subjects related to international affairs. I was taking subjects related to psychology, economy. So if you see my transcript and, you'll just be like, what did you do? What did you do? What did you specialize in?
Right.
So, but I think that when I started doing the Jindal Fellowship program and we were required to intern, and I was kind of using the kind of skills I was getting from the experiential hands-on learning with my thesis and my ongoing class interactions, I realized that communications is something I want to pursue.
Right.
So I wanted to, get into the field of communications because that's where I see myself, at least right now, knowing me, maybe 3 years, you'll see me turning into a diplomat. I can't promise you that, but I think that this elimination and this exploring the subjects mattered. For me, my priority wasn't to sort of find my calling. It was just to put myself out there, throw myself, out of my comfort zone, explore whatever I can possibly explore, squeeze the most I can out of being in a liberal arts school and having that flexibility to, diverse into various fields and various subjects.
Right.
So I think that worked out very well for me because,
So interestingly enough, I had the opportunity to meet with this gentleman called Amish Tripathi a few weeks ago. Amish Tripathi, of course, is this Hindu mythology / fiction writer, right? And I promise it's linked to what Medni said. So what Medni said was that she had no clue what she wanted to do when she was moving out of school and into JSLH. Right now, she's into education, she's into career counseling, etc. But tomorrow she might be a diplomat, tomorrow she might do something else. Where this conversation with Amish, with Mr. Tripathi comes into play is that, we were talking about career choices. And originally, it turns out that Mr. Tripathi went to St. Stephen's, and then he went to, I believe, he went on to do his MBA. He was an investment banker for many years. And then he decided to start writing. And now he's probably made more money writing than being an investment banker. And we came to the conclusion that people change their career trajectories at least 3 times in their lifetime. So what made me suggesting right now is that, look, this is something that I'm enjoying right now. I'm really happy with my job. I don't know how long I'm going to do it. Later on, I might do something else. This is perfectly normal. This is perfectly all right, right? I've been out of college. It's been close to what year is it? It's been close to about 15, 16 years, right? And I've changed my sort of career about 3 or 4 times, right? Maybe about 3 times perhaps. I was at one point of time a corporate lawyer, then I started teaching, and now I do mostly administrative work in a higher education setting. So that's perfectly all right, right? Okay, so for those of you who don't know what you want to do, you don't know what career you'd like to take up, that's all right. And I think Medni's sort of approach to this is fairly sound. Let's try out everything. Whatever we don't like, we will eliminate. And through that process of elimination, we will come to a small set of careers or a small set of aspirations that we might just enjoy doing, right?
Just to add on to you, Professor. So as you mentioned, my advice is it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. You've just come out of, you're just getting into college, but don't stop searching. Don't stop trying to find. And when I say this, I don't mean find something that you want to pursue for the rest of your life or find something that you want to pursue for years and years and years. But maybe in the next 3 months, okay, so say you grow a deep interest into even a sport for that matter. Don't stop pursuing that. Pursue it for as long as you want to. Build your knowledge. Knowledge is power, as you can have as much as of it, and it makes you. So keep looking for where your calling is, and it's okay if it keeps changing. I know that, and I'll tell you this, being in the education field now and studying for 4 years in liberal arts and doing various things, everything in our world is changing. I think this pandemic has been that eye opener for everyone. Everything is constantly changing, and you can embrace that change in whichever way that you like. So yeah, that's just wanted to add that.
All right, so that's great. So don't be afraid to sort of experiment, really, right? And again, fortunately at Jindal, in perhaps other universities, you might have to make a choice and you might have to stick with it, and then spend years doing something that you don't enjoy, and then realize that no, I'm gonna do something else. At Jindal, you will not have to make that choice, right? You can, as Medni did, you can have a wide range of electives to study from. All right. My next question. Oh, by the way, to our audience, at any point of time, if you have a question, feel free to drop it into the chat box. We will be taking audience questions in about 10-15 minutes time. All right. My next question is to all 3 of you, right? Whoever wants to answer first, right? Now, the job that you do right now, right? Or, the choices that you've made, this is specifically for let's say, Tanay, right? It requires you to have certain skills already developed, right? So for example, as Dean of Admissions, my job, requires me to have a number of skills, including communication, analytical skills, including maybe writing skills, etc. Right? So I'd like you to take a moment to think about what are the skills. They could be comprehension skills, analytical skills, communication skills, critical thinking skills, mathematics skills. I know Medley will run away the moment I say maths, but you might need to have quantitative skills as well, right? So what are the skills that you need in order to succeed in your present job, and whether or not JSLH gave you the opportunity to develop those skills? This is open to anyone, whoever wants to go first. Yes, Tanay, go ahead.
Okay, so I think more than what the education as in course structure gave me per se, it was more about what the university contributed towards my overall understanding of that idea of entrepreneurship.
Right.
Or me being the person I am, I'm involved with every college event that happened. I was like, I'm an idiot that way.
Right.
But I began with BSOML and Magnus, which are the two main college festivals in my first year as well.
Okay.
And I think those two really drove to me the concept of entrepreneurship and the concept of running an organization.
Right.
Because in an organization, you have multiple teams, you have multiple departments. And when you're working at the top or when you're involved, you don't really get to see the grassroots level. You're not involved with a keen understanding of what goes on at each and every organization. So working for the college festivals in all the committees really gave me an understanding of it gave me an understanding of what I need to do and how I need to do, and doing the work, or rather being hands on with it.
Right.
Also gave me the skills needed. Say, for example, if I'm doing PR, if I'm doing marketing, if I'm doing finance, if I'm doing budgeting, if I'm doing operations,
Right.
it really helps you do that. And also, I think I've been involved with the admissions office again for 4 years now. So I think that also really contributed towards making me a confident public speaker. It helped me balance academics and
extracurriculars, right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also the course structure as a whole as well. I think what it allows you to do is experiment.
Right.
It allows you to have the ability to not just do one thing, but do multiple things. So you're not just isolated in economics or business. You also have you're also working on multiple things at once. So that really helped me, sort of develop mental blocks.
Right.
Which is, I think, fairly essential as a life skill anyways.
Sure, I agree. So just before I move on to Abhinita, so that's really interesting, Tanay. I was expecting you to tell me that, oh, well, interdisciplinary skills helped me with this. But strangely enough, you mentioned that campus life, including running two major events, Biswa Mill, which is our cultural fest, and Magnus, which is our sports fest. And of course, we'll hope to have Magnus sometime next year. Fingers crossed for Biswa Mill as well. So that actually helped you sort of gain a bit of experience in organizations, right? And again, we keep coming back to the same point that JSLH and studying at JSLH might just be like a bit of a sandbox where you get to experiment, you get to press different buttons and see what does this do without the fear of it blowing up in your face, right? Wonderful. All right, Abhinita, over to you.
Yeah. So JSLH kind of helped me directly and indirectly in some way. So like, all the subjects that we did, like even literature, right? Right now I'm doing sales. What has literature got to do with that? But even today, like when I'm writing emails to, customers, or even like talking to my colleagues or something like that on like Slack or something, it's like, the way I used to write like for my assignments and all, that has really helped me in the way I structure my emails as well. So like it's really helped my communication skills. And like I did end up going into international business, and now I'm doing sales, so that's kind of connected. But one thing which really helped me was it was a very like a global course, like but so we studied like not just about India, but what kind of happens in the entire world, like marketing, sales, stuff like that. And then even so I did go for a sem exchange to Japan.
Okay.
Yeah. And over there also I did study mostly business courses. So that I think really helped the way that I do my work now, the way like I chose my job, the standards and the kind of thing that I want to do in life. So I think that really helped. Yeah.
Right. Wonderful, wonderful. And it's absolutely true that the problems of the world can't be solved by one experience or one perspective alone. I mean, think about it. For those of us who are in India, what's the biggest challenge that we have right now? It's getting enough vaccines rolled out to enough people, right? Now that's not a problem. So I mean, that's not a problem that can be solved by science alone, right? I mean, we developed the science, we've got the two vaccines. The problem now lies with logistics, supply chain operations, communication, right? A lot of people are thinking, oh, I don't want to take the vaccine because I think it's unsafe, etc. So I'm glad that you had these multiple perspectives. All right, so Medni and then Tanay, I'll come back to you. Medni, go ahead.
Yeah. So in terms of like, just to go back a little bit, in addition to what Tanay and Abhinita covered, I think that one of the things that helped me the most was to observe, irrespective of what internships I was a part of, whether it was working with the admissions team or the Office of Career Services. Closer to my second and third, this is an advice that I was given by somebody. I wish I could give them credit, but I do not remember. But it was one of the best pieces of advice I received, because they were like, wherever you are, observe the kind of roles that the individuals around you are doing. Observe what work they are indulging in. In an office, it's not, everyone doesn't do the same thing. He was like, if I were to go into an office, there are different people indulging in different kinds of roles, different kinds of responsibilities. And who knows, one day you're sitting for an interview and you could find your calling just by looking at somebody indulging. So I would say, over the course of 3 years, in whatever internships you're doing, look at what other people can learn. Try to see what lessons you can take away from other people's engagements and other people's learnings. I know this seems like a long shot, but when you actually put yourself in the shoes and you're like, okay, what is this person doing? What is that? It makes a huge difference.
Right.
So I think that over the course of 3 years, even just looking at Tanay volunteer for various, BSWAML activities, I'm like, these are the skills that you need. And in terms of, if you're in the different committees, so it's not like you have to be an extrovert or you have to be really good at communicating to put yourself there. There are so many opportunities within JSLH itself and, within JGU as a whole. So I think observing this environment around you is something it's something that I would pass on, considering it's been passed on to me.
All right, Tanay, you had another point to make.
Yeah, and I think sort of Medani began to cover what I was saying was about observing what other people are doing. I think the nature of the JSLH framework and the nature of the university framework as a whole, with I think 12 schools now, allows you the ability to really investigate what each one is doing. And while, say, for example, I did econ as my major, I also gained skills based on my interactions with, say, Abby, when we were volunteering for Buddy Project.
Right.
I mean, the keen ways in which I think the ability of the university to sort of come together as a singular community, not just in physical form, but also in the ability for individuals to come together to exchange ideas, that emerges as a fairly important thing. And I think the idea of observation was the idea of observation, introspection, and reflection was really driven into us throughout the courses, mainly through the ID modules, ID1, ID2, and ID3.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll just come to you in a moment, Abhinita. I think this is a very important point that both Medni and Tanay are making, in the sense that being able to develop skills to observe what is happening, why are these people behaving in the way that they are, and then reflecting upon, is this something that is correct, not correct, am I being judgmental, etc. Right? These are all part of critical thinking skills. These are all part of an intellectual curiosity that we try to develop in all of our students, right? And I think these are the kind of skills that are really required to succeed in any career. I mean, it doesn't really matter whether you choose to be a doctor or a humanitarian worker or whatever, right? But these are things that really matter. Abhinita, over to you.
Yeah, I think Medani started talking about this point, but I feel like a really important part of the JSLH experience are the internships that is integrated into the course, which I feel like is so important, because like right now, right, last year I had graduated, and when I was applying for jobs, I had seen like I had an advantage while the interviews were going on and all, because I had done internships and I knew, like, whatever small pieces of information that I had picked up through those internships, those were really, really helpful. And they did put me in front of, other candidates because I had some prior knowledge. So I think that is super important. And like, all the like students which are in right now, I think you should really like, look for good internships and like actually go there and work, because I think that's one of the things which was really helpful for me.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so very much, all three of you. Maidani, you looked like you had another point.
Yeah, I know. One point. I just want to say that it's okay. Again, if you don't find an internship in your calling and you find something which is slightly, different from what you're looking for, it's fine. Do it anyway. Do it because it will help you one way or another. It's going to make a difference in what you are learning from the experience and what knowledge you're getting and the kind of exposure that you're creating and the kind of working environment that you're exposing yourself to over the period of 3 years.
Right. No, I think that's really important to get some experience, real world experience under your belt, see what the real world is like. Tanay.
Yeah, so I think speaking about the whole idea of experiences and experiential learning for that matter, I think, and I don't know why I didn't speak about this earlier, but I think the ability for us or rather for the JSLH course is really to bring ideas from the external world into the classroom and vice versa. Is I think personally a strength of the entire course, especially when you come to your career. A simple idea like when I did my first internship after my first semester and I eventually moved to communication skills too, I saw an ability for me to look at or rather for when the class was being taught, for the ability for us to take those courses or rather our work experience into the classroom and actually apply that and work on that.
Right.
So, say for example, if I was interning in my first internship was with an organization called Samhita Social Ventures, which is one of the leading CSR consultancy firms, and I was working in sales and marketing. So the ability for me to bring those skills into class, to really investigate those classes, or rather to really investigate those skills with faculty members who are experts in the field, and then move that towards your actual academia. I think it's unparalleled, and that brings you a huge advantage in your career
when you're getting into the workforce. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So very quickly, all of you've talked about internships and how important and integral they are to the liberal arts experience at Jindal, right? Now we do have an Office of Career Services. What have your experiences been with the OCS? Anyone want to venture a quick answer?
Is it okay if I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
A little faint. Maybe bring the microphone a little closer.
Is this okay?
Much better.
Okay. So my experience, the reason I jumped at this was because I've actually interned with the Office of Career Services as an outreach intern for over 8 to 9 months as part of my Jindal Fellowship program. And that was my turning point. So despite doing internships every winter and summer break, it was this internship with the OCS that made me realize that this is communications and is what I want to pursue, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the webinar. And in addition to this, I think that I, over the 3 years when I was doing my bachelor's, the OCS and the representatives very like approachable. So in terms of me asking for interview tips or needing help with my cover letter or my resumes, I think that they were always there. And I worked one-on-one with them, which I'm not sure of the experiences Abhinita and Tanay had, but I worked with them one-on-one in the period over the last year, where they connected me with very, very well and like well-read and experienced people in the field of international relations in the United Nations specifically, because that's what I wanted to do. So in that sense, I've had a very good experience in with the OCS as an intern and as a student.
Wonderful. Anyone else want to add? Yes, Tanay, go ahead.
So while the OCS really didn't help me find internships because my sector was fairly niche, they were really helpful in terms of guiding me towards what I, towards my course. And I got accepted at multiple other colleges, but I think a key driving point that one of the, or rather the head of the OCS told me was, don't go behind the name of the college. Right. Go behind what the course content is. And I think that idea has been so stuck in my brain that it really helped me guide myself and make informed decisions about what I wanted to do in the future. And the OCS, especially in the past 2 semesters, has really been going out of its way to help students find internships,
Right.
placements. So I think I think they're doing a fantastic job.
So just so that everybody's on the same page, the university has an Office of Career Services. It's a fairly robust or a fairly robust organization within the university. And what they do is they work with students from day one, starting with how do you draft a CV, a curriculum writing, right? How do you draft your resume? How should you draft your cover letter? If there's a group discussion happening on which you will be judged or on which you will be selected, what do you need to do in that group discussion? How do you prepare? How do you prepare for an interview? Tips for converting internships into placements or into employment, right? So these are the things that the OCS does, and they really support the careers of our students. Now, we're at that stage where we're beginning to get a lot of audience questions, and we will deal with those. But before we move on to the audience questions, a question that has become my personal favorite when talking to alumni is, what if I were to convince Dr. Strange to give you the time stone and you had the ability to turn back time? Would you do anything differently? Or in other words, what advice would you want to give to students who are getting into JSLH in 2021? Open for anyone who wants to answer. Tanay, go.
Absorb as much as you can. There's so much that JGU has to offer. Just grab every single opportunity you can. There is, I mean, it's limitless.
Right.
And if I could turn back time, I would probably be like much more involved in my first and second year. So
Right.
just take every opportunity you get.
Awesome. Wonderful. Medni, Abhinita, anything you'd like to do
Yeah.
differently? Abhinita, go ahead.
So adding on to Tana's point, definitely, like, I agree with that. And just try, like, any subject that even like piques a little interest for you. Just try anything. Like, I have done stuff from creative writing to Indian politics to, like, I don't know what all I've done. So, like, I think it definitely helps in the end, and it doesn't matter if you don't choose a career in that path. Like, at some point in your life, it's definitely gonna help. And, like, volunteer as much as you can,
Yeah.
because, like, the stuff, like, even like Tanya spoke about, like, even URC, for example, like, I feel like when I was handling events, like, I had a team under me, so I
Right.
feel like that experience helps me now when I handle my team at my job. So I
Right.
think, yeah.
And at the university level, you are not only working with liberal arts students, but you're working with law students, business students, international affairs, and so on and so forth. And they all bring their own perspectives and their own experiences. Medni, do you want to add something?
I would say follow your own timeline during the duration of your university, because that with a liberal arts degree is very, very useful, because the whole
Right.
point of liberal arts degree is using these subjects and using these opportunities to find yourself. So don't fall, don't fall for the peer pressure, don't fall for the rat race that this world seems to be in.
Right.
You don't want to volunteer in anything in your first year, you don't have to do it. You don't want to volunteer in your second year, you don't have to do it. You want to just take up electives, you want to take up 3-4 electives and you feel that works out for you, do it. So create your own timeline is what I would say, because that's what I did. And when you say what would you do, if you could go back in time, I wouldn't change a thing, maybe other than graduate with my friends, not in the middle of a pandemic.
Sure.
But I wouldn't change a thing, and I think
Right.
that's the power of liberal arts, in my opinion. It allows you, the whole point of it is to be able to find yourself on your own terms, build your own foundation without having to connect with the world around you when it comes to that, in that context.
All right, so I think we can deal with a few audience questions right now. I've got Gauri Ghoshal, who's on chat, saying, how does the career service work out for us if we're doing a semester abroad or a dual degree? Well, again, at that point of time, the career service office, the OCS, the Office of Career Services, they don't come into the picture at all. There is a separate office for international collaborations. We call it the International Affairs and Global Initiatives Office. It is run by Professor Dr. Mohan Kumar, who himself is an Indian Foreign Service officer, well, retired. He retired as the Indian ambassador to France, and now he teaches diplomacy at Jindal. right? So under his guidance and under his leadership, as well as the leadership of previous sort of deans of international affairs, we've managed to build up close to about 300 partner universities across the world. And that is the office that takes care of dual degrees and semester exchange and short-term study abroad programs, right? So careers looks at careers, internships and employment. International office takes care of, well, international collaborations. All right, I've got a private message. At some point of time, can you please share some stories about graduates going ahead and pursuing higher studies? What are the possible choices beyond careers if one wants to pursue higher studies? Well, I mean, you've got an example right here in front of you, Tanay, who is one of many who are going to go on to pursue higher education in a postgraduate program, not just in India, but abroad as well. Tanay, do you want to talk a little bit about what it takes, how, a JSLH student might start planning a master's degree abroad, perhaps?
Okay, so thankfully I had a year because I did the JFP, but ideally sort of you'd begin around your 5th semester is when you'd begin really thinking and apply towards the end of your 5th semester. But speaking about what opportunities you have after doing JSLH or after doing a BA in liberal arts and humanities, it's endless.
Yeah.
I know people who've studied, or rather my seniors who've studied business and marketing and are now working at their own sort of who've created their own startups.
Yeah.
I know people who are going to some of the leading universities like Oxford, Stanford, right, Yale, LSE to study multiple things.
Right.
So I think what JSLH really gives you is an expanded skill set, and it gives you the ability to really understand multiple things at once. Right. So it's absolutely, it's boundless.
Right. So I agree with you. I mean, I noticed that a number of our alumni have gone on to Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Yale. Excuse me. And I'm glad to see them, well settled abroad and in India, etc. But what Tanay said is actually true. I mean, because the possibilities at JSLH are limitless, there's a wide variety of majors to choose from. And if you enjoy the major that you've taken up, you actually go ahead and do a master's degree in that particular discipline, right? All right. So let's take another question. Arav's first question has been answered, I think, by Medini. Medini's also, of course, answering a number of questions on chat. Thank you so much.
I mean, we can say it out loud. I was just typing.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
Oh, it's just I think there was a question about the Office of Career Services and how they help in choosing your internships. And I've put in the internship, summer internship, but just in continuation to that, you can also work one-on-one with the OCS.
Yeah.
And where you can express your interest in the kind of, if you have an idea of what organizations you're interested in, you can put forward the names, and the OCS can try getting in touch with representatives or recruiters from the organization and informing them that, okay, we have particular students who are interested in what your organization has to offer. And additionally, I think we also have a very strong alumni network. So in the case that your interests match or in the similar lines of an alumni's interest, there is some sort of connection and collaboration that takes place where you can either contact the alumni directly or, through the alumni's connections, you can get in touch with the organizations that they have interned with. So in this sense, I think that they will cater to your personal needs if it comes to that.
Right. I will add on to this by saying that the OCS, the Office of Career Services, it kind of acts like a conduit, right? A student has aspirations to, well, get into a particular kind of an organization or a corporation. The Office of Career Services can reach out to that corporation or organization and say, all right, we've got a student who's interested. Would you be interested as well? So in that way, it's like a pipeline. But what Medni said is absolutely true. A number of students have gone to the Office of Career Services saying that, hey, look, I really want to work with, let's say, Oxfam. Do you know anybody there? But I don't know anyone there. Do you have any record of this? So then they'll check their records and see, oh, somebody who graduated 3 years ago is now a senior manager over there, right? let's get in touch with her and let's figure out how we can get this together. So to use a colloquial term, it's far easier for the OCS to slide into the DMs of the organizations you want to work with rather than you reaching out to them on your own, right? Is what's next? Dual degrees done, dance, music, and theater. Absolutely. You do have expressive arts as an elective. There are possibilities of other electives in that sphere as well. We are starting a BFA program, a Bachelor of Fine Arts program this year. So there will be other courses on music, art, dance, etc. And if you're interested into music, I also happen to be the faculty advisor for the Music Society. Come down to the music room, we'll jam sometime. All right. All right, that's sorted. Can we choose an elective only if we get good grades? Not necessarily. However, I will say this, that just to echo what Tanay said, that some courses have prerequisites, right? So let's say you are a Jindal student at the liberal arts school. There are 170 electives available for you. And you should be able to take up any one of those 170. Out of those 170, maybe 10 require some prerequisite course. For example, we have a school of government and public policy. It offers a BA in economics, it offers a BA in social science and policy, and it offers an MA in economics as well as in public policy, right? So now, let's say a faculty member from the Jindal School of Government and Public Policy is offering a course called Applied Econometrics, right? For which, and econometrics is how do you measure the economy in one sense, right? Maybe that's not the most accurate definition, but in some sense, how do you measure the economy? For which you will need to know statistics and economics. Right? So statistical analysis is again offered. So if you've taken up statistical analysis, you've taken up economics, yes, as a potential Jindal liberal arts student, you can take up applied econometrics. Tanay, go ahead.
Yeah, just sort of adding to that, most of the prerequisites that are needed to study are all covered in your foundation courses. Right. So, if you want to do applied econometrics, econ is covered and stats are covered as well. So it's mostly never a problem.
Right. Wonderful. All right. I think I have a couple of more questions. Once the application. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Just along the lines, since there were a lot of questions about cross electives, I'm not sure if the rules have changed, but I think there is an option where you can audit certain courses, which means that you can sit in on the classes of these courses, but you are not obligated to take exams or have any attendance. But having said that, don't get excited because attendance is not mandatory, but you will not receive any sort of credit or certificate saying that you've been part of this particular course, because there is no way of measuring how present you have been in the program. But if you are really interested, I'd like
to disagree with that, Maithili. If you
don't. I'm so sorry. I've never audited, so.
That's why. All right. So let's talk about the practice of auditing. Does anyone remember Three Idiots? There's this one line in the movie where the protagonist, played by Amir Khan, he says, there is knowledge everywhere, just soak it up from wherever you can, right? So that's the whole point of auditing, right? So you need not take up an elective formally, but what you can do is go to a faculty member and say, hey, professor, I think I really find this subject really interesting. Can I sit in on the classes? And the professor is going to be like, sure, come on in, right? Most of the time, right? That's most of the time. And of course, it depends upon the faculty member. Now, some faculty members, what they do is they offer the opportunity, do you want to be part of the assessment as well, right? So when I'm teaching my courses, and I teach mergers and acquisitions, I teach capital markets. When students are auditing my course, I ask them, do you want to take up the assignments as well? And if they say yes, then they go through these assignments, which are fairly tough, by the way. And at the end of the course, whatever they've scored, I'll give them a letter. Faculty members will give them a letter saying, so-and-so person audited my elective course, and had they been formally enrolled, they would have received this grade. So that becomes a kind of a certificate or a kind of record that you've actually audited, right? But auditing is something that's very, very common. A lot of people do it. And as Medni said, don't get carried away. Half of the time people who start auditing don't end up finishing because, I mean, there's no buy-in, right? I mean, there's nothing to lose. All right. We've got a couple of questions one question on the application process. So once the application has been looked into by the admissions team, yes, there will be an interview round. There will be an entrance test. For further details, please feel free to give a call to Nishi Mishra. She's on the call right now. I'm sure she'll leave her contact details as well at some point in time. Nishi, please go ahead and do that. Wonderful. The option to study French as a language, and if yes, up to what proficiency? And if somebody has almost gained fluency in French, do they have to start at a lower level or start at their acquired level? All right. Does anyone over here have experience with our foreign languages? Tanay, go ahead.
Okay, so I have no experience with foreign languages, but as far as I know, at JSLH, you're offered French, Spanish, German, and Mandarin. But it's mandatory for you to do those foundation courses because they come for your graduation requirements. However, there are courses in association with the Foreign Languages Office, which are offered, as far as I know, up to B2. So, yeah.
So we do offer a number of foreign languages, again, absolutely free of cost, and you can take them up as your electives, French, Spanish, German, as Tanay said. If you already have achieved a certain level of fluency, my recommendation, go and talk to the faculty member. They will have extra classes, right? So you can join French level, I don't know, it goes up to, if I recall correctly, it goes up to level 6. I'm enough to actually appear for whatever the standardized examination is. All right. Okay. So yes, you do have an option to study French, Mandarin, Spanish, Arabic, sometimes in some semesters, German as well. And my recommendation, if you're looking to study a foreign language and looking forward into the 21st century, take up Chinese, take up Mandarin. They're going to take over the world, or at least half of the world. It might make sense to understand the language that the Chinese speak. All right. So any other questions that we may have? We are possibly good to wrap up, and it's exactly 6 p.m. All right, wonderful. I don't think we have any other questions from the audience. Well, to our panelists, thank you so very much. I know that you're working. Thank you for taking out time on a Thursday evening to come and talk to incoming students who I'm sure have been inspired and have benefited from your experiences, right? Google Scholar, when you open up the main page, it says, stand on the shoulders of giants. Taking forward your advice, you are the giants, and I'm quite certain that the incoming batch of 2021 will be standing on your shoulders as well. All right. Any last words before we wrap up?
So I understand that, you're graduating from school, moving to college in the middle of a pandemic and stuff. So I can drop in my my phone number. And if you guys require any information from my end, please feel free to drop me a message at any time, and then we can connect, and I'll be more than happy to answer any specific questions that you have about JSLH or the university or anything else you may require. Just that.
Right. Wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you so very much.
Just sort of adding to that, to everyone who's received their offer in the past week, we're actually going to be sending out Student Connect emails. All students have probably been connected, but we're also we have this program where we connect incoming students to current students who are at JSLH. So please watch out your email IDs. We will be sending out the emails either this evening or early tomorrow morning.
All right. Wonderful. Abhinita, over to you.
Yeah, I was just saying happy to, take any questions even outside the webinar, like about college or life in general, about a job, anything. So like, feel free to reach out to me. I'll leave my number in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, guys. That is really unexpected. I mean, I don't know too many other universities where the alumni are by themselves saying that, here's my number, call me, or reach out if you have any questions. And these are working professionals, right? All right. So Nishi, thank you very much for setting this up. It's been great. I don't see any other audience questions, so we should probably wrap up right now. Right, wonderful. Thank you, audience, for staying with us for this 1 hour. As Tanay mentioned, for those of you who've received your offer letters and you've accepted them, keep a lookout for the student volunteer email. Keep a lookout also for the prestige email. Now, we realize that transitioning from school to university is going to be a little difficult, especially when it's virtual. And we have another program planned, this time not by students, but by faculty members, and you will get to meet your faculty members who will be teaching you in your first semester very, very soon. So for those of you who've accepted your offer letters, welcome on board, and I'll see you sometime soon. With that, thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. And
thank you for having us, Professor. I wish everyone stay safe.
You too. Everyone stay safe. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.